Okay, today we're going to be talking about how to network in person, and this one's a fun one for me because I'm going to an event in a couple of weeks, July 17th. Jennifer Schaus is hosting a networking event here in Washington, D.C., and she's been somebody I've attended her events for years, off and on, but especially when I had my own government contracting firms, right? And so she's the motivation for why I'm doing this training today. I really wanted to do two things. One is promote her event, and the other is to promote how to have success at events like hers. I'll actually be going to several different events through the next 3-6 months, and I want to be sharing tips along that path of how do you have success in person as a networker when you get out there. One of the things I want you to keep in mind is that I say everything must have a purpose. When I teach on different topics, especially when you think about the marketing assets, there's 6 main marketing assets for every small business in the federal market. And every one of those marketing assets has a specific purpose. The capability statement, for example, its purpose is not to inform or to educate. It's to get you in the door. That's it. Your website or a white paper, those marketing assets, their job is to inform. But the capability statement is to get you in the door. Similar to that, networking events have a purpose, right? And I really want you to understand that the networking events, its whole purpose is to meet new people. It's not to meet people I know, right? Jennifer Schaus and I know each other, but I haven't seen her in several years, right? Last time we connected for coffee or whatever was pre-COVID. And so if I want to connect with her, it's not at this event. I'm going to her event to meet new people. If I want to connect with her, I'll say, hey, Jennifer, let's connect and talk about ideas, et cetera, either on a call, a one-on-one call, or let's go have coffee or something since we're both in the DC area. So when you think about the purpose of a networking event, it's really is to increase your network, right? And so you're trying to meet those new people. There's this guy out there, Harvey Mackay, and I've been reading his stuff for years. And he wrote this book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And it's such a great idea to keep in your mind. You don't want to go to a networking event for the hopes of finding the right person who can help you tomorrow with what you need. That's not what networking is about. That's what, that's what Capture is about, where you're trying to get in. But even then, you need to sit there and give it a longer runway. Digging your well before you're thirsty, the whole idea of it is don't wait until you're thirsty to start digging a well. First off, because digging a well is thirsty business anyways. But second, it takes a while to get down to the water as you dig the well. And think about relationships. It's that same thing. It takes a while to dig that relationship well, to build a relationship that you can then ask for things or to be able to help with. And so I wanted to give you this one example here. I've got the Air Force Cloud One as an example. And I had somebody in our community, right? We are not just about training. We bring together many of us who are in the GovCon space who connect with each other and have relationships outside of my trainings here. And so somebody who was in our training reached out to me and said, hey, I'm trying to get into the Air Force. We're already in the Air Force, but I'm trying to get much further into the Air Force into this major program called Cloud One. It's a big initiative, a multi-billion-dollar type initiative. And I'm trying in particular to get in with a particular large prime contractor, multi-billion-dollar large prime contractor. Do you know anybody? Can you help? And I said, well, let me reach out to my network, right? And so I reached out to this person who I had met 2+ years ago at a networking event where I talked to them 10, 15 minutes, just chit chat with them, saying hi, understood what they did, what we did at a high level. And it turns out this person runs this large primes sales for the Air Force, including Cloud One, right? And so I met them, I networked with them a little bit. And then after the event, and I'll tell you more about this in the training, I maintained that relationship at a very, high level. Didn't take a lot. I wasn't actually working with the Air Force myself. So I maintained that relationship enough so that they knew who I was and I knew who they were if they reached out to me. Long story short, I reached out to them 2.5 weeks ago, and I said, hey, I got this person in my community. They'd love to meet with you and talk to you specifically about Cloud One and the Air Force and working with your company. Would you mind if I made an introduction to this firm? Took 2 weeks, but they got back to me yesterday, which is very convenient for today's training. They got back to me yesterday and said, absolutely. Make the introduction, do it on LinkedIn, whatever, and I'll be happy to talk to your friend, your connection, et cetera. And that's what we mean by digging your well before you're thirsty. I dug that networking connection years ago, and I'm hoping that very same person, when they have a need, that they reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for a company that does this, or I'm starting my own company now. You got any tips? Whatever it is. When we build a network, that network is designed to be there when we need it long-term, not tomorrow. So in today's training, I'm going to talk to you about how to go to an in-person networking event. And I want to give you some tips on what to do before going to that in-person event. So how you can go or you can become very prepared before you go to the event. And then what you should do in the event. In particular, I want to talk for a minute about just how to say hi, which is really the probably the hardest thing people have when they go to a networking event. So I'm going to talk to you about that. And then the third thing I want to wrap up with is just giving you some tips about how to follow up after an event, because if networking events don't stop when you get in your car and you go home. The networking event has this long tail that's called relationship building. You just started the new relationship by meeting these new people. Now you're going to continue that networking event, that networking activity for a long term so that you build it. So that's what we're going to talk about. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. And I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's kind of what I want for you to have at a next networking event is repeatable, predictable results of meeting new people. If you don't know this, this is now well north of 300 trainings that we have done in the last 15 months. We are very committed to training, in particular, the small business community within the federal market on how to succeed. And so make sure you're checking out previous trainings, et cetera. They're out there. Go to our website. There's a lot of material you can find. Last thing is, if you haven't done this, this is a training and a networking event, right? You're able to network in the chat. Put your company name in to the chat, your core competency. I can't see it at the moment because I'm busy doing the training, but I'll come back and look at it and engage. But right now, you can engage with others. If you tell them what you do, hey, we do cyber and we do cyber, maybe it makes sense for you to meet and go after bigger projects together, whatever it is. But just put your company name and your core competency with 2 or 3 words into the chat. So if you haven't been to one of my trainings before, often I go at a fire hose pace. So don't worry, there's a replay available. I'm actually thinking about creating everything I'm sharing with you today in a handout. So if you want me to do that, maybe put handout please into the chat. And if I see a sufficient amount, I'll create a handout with my tips. So here's what I want to recommend you do before you go to a networking event in order to ensure you have success. The first thing is just remember that a networking event its purpose is to meet new people. So when you know that, you're not trying to find John and Sally and all these people you know, because that's what we call constructive procrastination or a crutch. You're going to your friends because you're afraid to go to new people. Your job is to meet new people. Maybe you should meet Sally when you're there, who's your friend, and say, hey, let's go find 5 new people to meet together. It's okay to you and Sally to do that together, but don't go to a networking event just to meet people you know. That's not going to get you achieve that purpose, right? The second bullet I have here is a play off of agile software development, but I want you to determine your definition of success. You and your colleagues, you're going to this event. What is your definition of success? I want to meet 1 new person. I want to meet 10 new people. I want to meet somebody from the Army and somebody from a large prime. You know, whatever it is, figure it out. You have an advantage here because at some of these events, you're able to see who's there, whether it's exhibitors or even attendees, which I'll show you in a second. Next thing I want you to do is make sure you prepare a 6-second and a 15-second follow-up to that intro. So 6-second intro. What I mean by this is if somebody says, what do you do? And let's say I'm a Microsoft company. Oh, we're a Microsoft 365 consulting firm focusing on application development. That's interesting, right? It's like, it's nothing special because it doesn't matter what I say. They're not going to go, oh my God, I've been waiting for you. I'm going to buy from you. All it is starting the conversation, getting past the awkward stage. And so a 6-second intro. If they say, well, tell me more or something, I can say, oh, sure. You know, Microsoft 365 is actually pretty broad. And so we cover down on 2 particular areas that are our strengths in Microsoft 365. That's SharePoint and Microsoft Power Platform. And so SharePoint helps with the communication and collaboration in organizations. And Power Platform is really this business process automation. So we're pretty excited to help the federal market about that, right? Something like that. I'm not trying to write your exact thing, but what I want you to get out of your head is this whole idea of an elevator pitch, which sometimes seems like it's got to be too perfect. It just needs to be an intro. What do you do? And those 2 to 3 words that you put into chat or comments, those are basically the meat of your 6-second intro. We do this, this, and this. Pretty straightforward. So have that though, because then when you have it, you have it memorized 6 seconds, right? It's like 10 words or something, 20 words. When you have that memorized, you'll feel really comfortable saying, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. Something like that. Hopefully that makes sense. The next tip I have for you, and I should have numbered these so you can follow along, but number 4 here, engage with event organizers. Everything you do beforehand is designed to help you have more success there. So one of the things you might do with event organizers is just say, hey, I'm really excited to come to your event. And let's use Jennifer Schaus's event in DC. Really excited to come to your event. Man, it's been so long since people have had an in-person event. I'm excited. Now you've been able to connect. You might be able to sit there and say, hey, I'm looking to meet these kind of people. Any tips for how I can meet them? If you're new, you might even consider volunteering. This is one of the ways in the past that I have kind of endeared myself and got myself into an organization where they began to guide me. And I would just say, hey, this is my first time at your event. And really, I'm pretty nervous about networking in person. I don't really know how to do that or something. Can I volunteer? Can I help you out so that maybe it helps me be able to meet people, even if it's like greeting at the door, if I can pass out some flyers for you or something. If you volunteer, somebody might put you to work. Sure, why don't you come early and help us set up tables or something? If you volunteer now people kind of have this reason to talk with you that's beyond that little awkward silence. And I'm going to get you even past that. But volunteering is a great way to get active in an event as you're going forward. But also those people at the event, the organizers, they might help you. It's like, oh, you know what? You need to talk with Sally, John, and Tom. Those are 3 nice people, and they'll introduce you to 5 other people each. Oh, great, thanks. And that takes it away from being a pure cold activity of networking to now warming it up. Next thing I want you to do is invite people on your LinkedIn network. And so I want to just show you how to do this really quick. And actually, it just occurred to me, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on. Entire screen. So I want to come into here. This is Jennifer Schaus's LinkedIn post about her event. You actually register here on Eventbrite, but that's the one I'm talking about. Right down here, I've registered. So once you register, you can click here. Let me zoom down a little bit so you can see. I can click on this share button and I see invite. And LinkedIn allows me to invite some people. Like here's Kyle and here's Lee. These are all good friends. William's the first connection, but he's already going. I can see some of these people might be interested. We help small businesses grow in the federal area. I'm like, okay, let me invite them. You know who your connections are. What I'm recommending is you just come through here and select several people. If you really want to make this event good for you and for the organizers, select 100 people. I've got 20,000 people in my connections that I can invite. Maybe I can find a whole bunch that are in DC. So then you just hit invite. And down here on the bottom left, you see that it says, hey, we invited those 3 people you said. That's a really good thing to do, is invite people in your LinkedIn network, because you start driving in maybe somebody you're connected to on LinkedIn, but you really don't have a relationship with. And it's kind of like re-meeting them as a new person. So that's one thing. The next thing is to let others know that you'll be there. And going back to this example, I'm going to come back into Jennifer's event. So here I'm in her event and I can see that she's letting us see the attendees. And I'm assuming this is not just me. But I'm able to come in here and see all these different attendees. And so I might be able to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to be at the event. I'd love to connect with you. Here, I can, like right here is somebody's going to the event. She's senior associate at Guidehouse. This is not private information. LinkedIn is a professional network, right? But I can say, just show me first connections. Now I can see there's going to be 79 people there who were, in fact, Leona, she's awesome. And I think I invited her earlier. So, I can reach out to these people and begin to engage with them ahead of time just by seeing the attendee list and letting them know, hey, Leona, I'm going to be at that event. I'd love to connect with you. Come find me. In case there's a whole bunch of us with gray hair, I'm going to be wearing my Converse shoes, which are not tennis shoes, Jennifer. They're things. And the last thing I want to tell you, and the last thing I said here is post on your LinkedIn. And so you could just share the event out. Let me show you how to do that really quick. If I come back here, hold on one second. So this is her event. This is what I want to recommend you do. If you're going to go to this event, frankly, even if you're not going to go to this event, but you want to engage with people and you wish you were there, so you're down in Georgia or in California, you can still do some of this by inviting people and say, hey, Jennifer, I can't be there, but I invited 20 friends. But right here, where am I going? Oh, I lost it for a second, but she has posts, but I could share this post on my feed. So right here, I could say repost to my feed. I'm attending federal government contractor, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm letting everybody know, right? And so you can change this language to what you want, but you're sharing this out. I'm not going to do it because I've already done it like 3 times today. So let me discard that, go back to our deck. Last thing is, before your event, find a ranger buddy. If you're nervous about going to an event, find a ranger buddy. And what I mean by this is when I was in the Rangers, we always moved this too. You had a ranger buddy, right? And so this is somebody where you go in and you agree to work the networking event together. Our goal is to meet as many new people as we can to hit your objective, your definition of success, and mine, right? And so, but this person is going to go to the event with you, and now you don't have to feel totally alone. You have 2 of you, and your whole agreement is to kind of follow the next steps that I'm going to tell you at the event. So when you're at an in-person networking event, here's some tips for you. I'm going to give you 2 pages of tips, and so it's going to come at you pretty fast. But the first tip I wanted to talk to you about, and this is not telling you what to do. I wanted to somehow say what I do, like, because I don't care who you are. Walking up to somebody new, there is this level of fight or flight that is built into humans. And so walking up to somebody new, it seems a little odd. There are some of us who just go up, but it's like when I used to jump out of airplanes. People would say, oh, when you're in the Army, you used to jump out of airplanes. Were you scared? I'm like, every single time. I'm jumping out of a perfectly good airplane into the air with the hope that my chute opens up in 4 seconds or splat, right? And so I don't want to be around people jumping out of airplanes who aren't scared. I'm still going to do it because that's what we do and we're trained or our equipment's good, but it doesn't mean I don't have a level of anxiety. And going up to somebody is the same thing. I want to give you a couple of quick tips on how you can lower the anxiety, right? So one thing you can do when you're walking up to somebody and saying hello, and I have 2 types of people you're going to walk up to. Imagine you're walking up to somebody, like you're at the networking event, you're by yourself. And actually, let me stop sharing for a second. So I'm just, you get fool me for 1 second. You're walking up to the event. And you're by yourself in this event. You just got there or something, and you're standing by yourself. Well, one of the things you can do is look at somebody else who's standing by themselves. And if you catch their eye, give them a little smile. And even just raise your hand. You're at a networking event. You have to remember that it's totally okay to walk up and say hi. Got to keep that in mind, that you and that other person, you're both there to meet new people. You both know that you're there to meet new people. And so just a little smile, a little wave, and then walk up to them. Just walk up and say, hi, I'm Neil McDonnell. You should use a different name, but walk up to them and say, hi, I'm Neil McDonnell. And you can shake their hand, you can not shake their hand, do a fist bump, whatever is your world, right? But just walking up is all you need to do to get past that. Because if they're standing by themselves, they're doing this. It's like you want to talk to somebody, you're ready, you're a great person, but you're alone for that minute. So if you can take the initiative to smile and walk up, you can go watch a previous video I've done where I teach how to practice smiling. Let me come back to this really quick. I teach how to practice smiling, and I go out jogging, or not jogging, but walking along the pier. And I live on a waterfront type area. So when I'm walking at an area where a whole bunch of other people are walking, I practice smiling and saying hi. I leave off the kneel part, but while I'm walking. So I walk, I got a small smile, I raise it to a teeth smile, and I say hi. And I just keep going. And I do this so it helps me practice saying hello to strangers. That's not a normal thing for most of us. And so if you just remember, make eye contact, smile, and it doesn't have to be a big smile, little, lip smile is more than enough. That's usually what I do. And then just walk towards the other person. That's the big thing. It's not the hello, it's the walk towards. When you walk towards another person, they immediately in their head are registering your smile and you're coming to me. Must be time for us to meet each other. And you've lowered their anxiety a little bit as well. And then you just say hi in your name, et cetera. And then you're off to the races. I'll talk more about that. But if you're walking up to a group, my tip is sometimes there's little circles, right? In networking events or at their table. You can walk up to a table and just say, you walk up, you don't have to be brutal, but you walk up and you're kind of trying to catch somebody's eye. May I join you? Not can I join you? I once got into a huge argument with my brother-in-law about the difference between can I and may I. Can I is, am I able to? Get out of the way. I definitely can. I'm an American, right? That's different than may I join you. What I'm really trying to ask is, are you guys having some sort of private conversation or may I join you? Oh, please come on in, right? But you need to walk up to the groups. And so the way that I like doing it is a similar type thing where I'm just making that initiative where I'm walking up to the group, and I have to believe, and this is what I want you to believe, that that circle wants you to walk up to them. They want another person in their circle because that's why they're there, is to meet new people, and you are a new person. So if you walk up and say, hi, may I join your circle? Oh yeah, come on in. Absolutely. Every single person in that circle is going to say yes, smile at you, and invite you in. But before that happens, they're going to look like this closed group that doesn't want you there. They want you there. You just need to walk up and say hi, because they don't move as a circle. You need to move as an individual. Hopefully that makes sense. By the way, I have previous training on networking as well, so you can go watch that, and I go more into this. But one of the things you want to talk about, I already talked about the 6-second and 15-second intro, so you want kind of that. But one of the things I just wanted to point out as it relates to what to talk about is to just remember that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And one easy way to do that is to just listen to them. And when they say something, don't instantly make it about you. If they say, oh, we do, Microsoft 365 stuff, like I said, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Are you doing it like civilian side or defense side? Something like that just makes it an easy conversation to come back. And that's what I meant by how to encourage responses, is be curious, right? Ask this open question. Are you more on the civilian side? Do you target? In fact, you might want to say things like, do you target more the civilian agencies or defense agencies? Because that way you're not saying, who are you working for? Sometimes that's a little too forward of a question right at the start, because maybe they're a brand new company and they're feeling nervous that they're not working anywhere or a lot. So who are you targeting is much softer, but it's an open question to let them say, well, we really like HHS. And so we've been knocking on their doors. Oh, great. We've done a little with HHS, but we're kind of over here. Now you're off to the races. I can't tell you how to have the conversation because, the first date is for you, but those are simple ways to keep yourself rolling forward, is be curious. And remember, you're trying to show them that you care by listening to them. And then, so here's the last tip I want to give you on this one, is how to be the best group ever. And remember, I talked about the circle. This is huge. First thing is make sure there's always opening. If you're ever with me in a networking event and I'm standing next to you, one of the two people I'm standing next to, I'm moving away from, and I'm turning my shoulders away from the circle. Instead of being into the circle, and I'm not doing this on purpose, and neither are you, but we just naturally create a circle. I want you to turn one shoulder out. You're opening that circle. You're telling everybody else, come on in. That one person who's hovering around, getting up the courage to walk to you, the fact that you have your circle open is a big deal. And when they come over, just take a second and go, oh, hey, this is John, Sally, Tommy, Timmy. It's a great way for you to remember who all those people are, but you instantly are introducing everybody and helping everybody's attention focus on Tammy, who just walked into the circle. And then invite Tammy. Oh, hey, Tammy, what do? You want to introduce yourself to us? Kind of thing. And make it easy for them to be part of that circle instead of coming into the circle and feeling like they're a fifth wheel. Engage them, and then the conversation will go back to wherever it's going. Okay, I wanted to give you a couple of don'ts, and I'm going to go through these really quick because of the time, and I want to talk about the after event. Don't drink. First off, this is a professional event. You're there to meet people. You're not there to party. Go party afterwards. That's totally cool. I got a tip from a State Department person who said, I just have one drink. A diplomat who used to travel to other countries. And she said, I would just have one drink and I'd bring it to my lips, a small sip, and go down. You're not there to drink. You're there to meet new people. So keep that in mind. And sometimes when we drink too much, whether it's alcohol or like Coke or water or something, we have unintended consequences. We want to be there to engage with people. The next thing is, don't worry about marketing materials. No capability statement, anything. Just bring your ability to talk and listen. Don't push business cards. I want you instead to push LinkedIn. If you meet Sally, say, hey, Sally, are you on LinkedIn? Can we just connect right now? Forget about the business cards. If you can get them on LinkedIn, now you understand their whole life story in the professional sense. You have the ability to message back and forth. You have all these things. It's so much more valuable than a business card. Doesn't mean you can't bring your cards, but push for LinkedIn first. Don't hog the time. Don't just be talking all the time. Let others talk as well and listen. You'll follow up after the event with those folks. Don't tell everything about your company. Definitely don't sell. And one thing that I said here is don't be boring at the bottom. And what I mean by this, and I said be curious, but sometimes people just stand there like logs or something, right? You're there to network, contribute to the other person. We're all just going to walk away from you. And so you just need to increase your conversational skills. And you can practice that at many different events before you even go to a networking event. The last thing is do not BS. We all have a BS factor. Be authentic. If you're a small, tiny business who just got started, be proud of that. That's where you're at. That's the foundation of America, is people who start businesses and grow them into these Lockheeds that are multi-billion-dollar firms. Steve Jobs started Apple in his garage with Wozniak, right? Two guys just didn't have anything and no one even believed in them. Everybody starts somewhere. So don't BS, be authentic, and it pulls us in to where you're at. After the event, I want you to just pay attention to these tips, and I'll make these slides available too. If you want to just put slides, please. But one thing is thank the organizer. Go back, because if you ever want anything else, nobody is a bigger person to meet than the person who just organized a networking event, right? So Jennifer, in this case, thank her for even bringing this event together with agency and industry personnel. Send personnel or personalized connection requests on LinkedIn. What that means is these people you met with, connect with them, but send a note. Hey, I saw you at Jennifer's event. It was awesome. I met a lot of people. Love to connect with you. Keep in touch. Post a recap on LinkedIn. It's great for your own showcasing your company and you saying we did this, but you're also giving a little shout out to the organizer and the other people who were at it. So you can just post a little recap about the value you got out of it. Maybe a few, I met a few people, etc. Number 4 is check your new connections. These people you just met, check their profiles daily to see if they're sharing content. It'll literally take you 5 minutes a day to see if they're posting content and you can engage with them. That takes it from meeting new people to developing new relationships. The last one there is, when appropriate, reach out to these new connections. Schedule a 30-minute intro call with them and say, hey, let's talk more about your business and my business and where we might work together. So here's what I want you to remember out of this fire hose training on networking. The purpose of networking is to meet new people. Keep that in mind and it'll help drive your activity. I want you to engage with the people you want to meet as early as possible. So if you can do that before you even go to the event, then engage with them. And the last thing, number 3 there, is follow up, like I mentioned, after the event, because this is the key from turning somebody that you just met into a long-term relationship that'll be mutually beneficial as you go forward. And the last thing is, if you're in the DC area or you're looking at it, somebody put the link into the chat for me right now, if you would. But join me at Jennifer Schaus's networking event. I'll be there. I'd love to meet a lot of you in person who I maybe have never met in person. If you're looking for help in your company and you've watched 10 of my trainings, you're doing about $2 million, and you want to go to the next level, you're trying to improve the processes in your organization, et cetera, reach out to me through direct messaging. I'm happy to talk with you about how we might be able to help you. But for everybody, please remember that government contracting and networking, they're not secrets. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.